Good morning, carcinogen, solar god. How you doing today? Oh my goodness, it's Tuesday already. Where's the time go? Time for another article here this morning. Got a good one for you folks. One by Harvey McGinnis. Pleased to bring that to you folks here today. All right. A cup of coffee going. I hope you do too. Should be an interesting show today. Kind of stoked. Good morning, fans of Magic the Gathering, friends who love this game as much as we do. Thanks again, Carcinogen. Solar God, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards here in the world? Is there enough information out there? Or perhaps there's just too much information. Let me do it for you each and every morning here on the morning show. It's Brody Alfonso bringing you some morning Magic the Gathering stocks and some morning Magic the Gathering talks. Thanks again for tuning in. The amazing 312 of you subscribers who subscribe to the channel. Thank you, folks. Just want to be letting you know that you hit that smash button, that like button, the subscribe button. It lets the channel grow and it lets folks know that you're watching. It's going to be a good Tuesday. Smoky out there. We are on, Brody's on high alert right now. We're on high alert. Forest fires in the area. Just want to give a heads up to anybody who tunes in regularly. We are on evacuation notice, so at any time we might have to leave the area. It's unfortunate. Hopefully they can get these things under control, but that's what's going on near me. Any news near you, we're happy to bring it to you here this morning. But let's get into some AI-generated Magic cards like we always do here on the morning show. We're going to take a look at a couple of cards, and if the card's playable any way whatsoever, even if it's a little bit overcosted, and we've got some good ones here this morning, you're going to hear this sound. The dinger. And if the card's got any gibberish on it any way whatsoever, you'll hear this sound. The sound of the buzzing, cousin. Yeah, it really is that bad? It is bad. It's 13,000 hectares is what's on fire north of us right now. It's really smoky outside, and it's working its way closer each and every day. So hopefully those hardworking individuals out there can get it out and get it under control. We need to send a little bit of material, we need some equipment to go there and fight this thing. But nevertheless, we're here on the show. We're going to be running the show until they kick us out of here. Let's take a look at this AI generated Magic card. I really dig that shirt. It pops. Thank you. Thank you. This is the Brody shirt. Did you get your shirt? Did you get your shirt? All right, let's check out this one. Alana Light Prowl. Huh? Alana Light Prowl Guard. How's the fit? Good luck. Getting rain. Yes, we need some rain. It never rains when you need it, right? All right, let's look at this Alana Light Prowl Guard. Fox Archer. This is a cool card. I like it. 3 red and a 1. For legendary Archer Fox, it gains Mega Morping Redrain. Sadly, this sucker is a fail. Already, it's got gibberish on the card. We can't have no gibberish here in the stream. No time for it whatsoever. Let's let's read the second ability on the card. For a blue and 7, you get a 4/4 mirror artifact token with flying. That seems all right. But it gains Mega Morping Redrain. That ain't gonna cut it here. We deserve better. You folks deserve much better than this card. Let's move on to the next one. We're gonna do a couple of them. Fair OP overpowered. Word salad. Get the salad. Fox is eating salad here in the house. We got a Plains. Why do we have 2 Dakotas? I don't know. I'm in ND. We got tons of snow. Really? New Delhi? 4 senators for 2 states that have combined 17 people in them. Wow. Look at this Plains. Let's check it. Make sure it looks like a big old tower of something. I'll take it. That's coffee's working good. Wherever you got Brody dragging along for the ride this morning, I want to thank you folks for letting me take part in the beginning part of your day. Wear a smile out there. Walk towards the fire. If you have goals, take one step towards your goals each and every day, like Richie Dubs. Richie Dubs, inspiration over there, giving us some comedy, something to laugh at. Take one step towards your dream each and every morning, and soon it will seem not so far away. We've got the Dobnar Goblin Growth, instant speed for a white. Search your library for a creature card with the same name as target creature. Put it into the battlefield, tap, then draw. Wow. This thing is broken, right? You have to have a target on board. That's something that you're going to target, but if you have multiple copies, no good in Commander, but like in a 60-card build, this thing's okay. Fair, OP, unplayable, word salad. Let's give it a fair. It's OP, but let's see what people say. Yeah, most people say it's OP. We're going to say it's fair with the way that Wizards is going in Modern Horizon 6, right? Wait till we get to Modern Horizon 6. That won't seem so powerful. What else we got? One more for you folks here today. Jetalith's Meitsters. Oh, the Meitster. 1 and 2. 2 blue and 1 for draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Each player mills 4 cards. Hey, that's a decent card. Draw 2, discard 2, then each player mills 4. Why not? Let's give it a fair. Seems okay. Yes. Just a little update for you folks. Brody's here on the show each and every morning, Monday through Friday, except if we get evacuated. We're on high alert right now. I'll be throwing all the magic cards in the back of the truck, and we'll be heading down the highway if they kick us out. If they say, you gotta go, I'll be driving down the freeway with boxes and boxes of sealed product, just making my way just as fast as I can down the highway. I want to thank you folks for tuning in. If you like tracking the prices magic cards, we got all the big boys here on the channel. Big Daddy Mike and anyone else. Shout out to the Mox Man this morning, Ed the Dual Brain, and all the friends of Brody. Thanks for tuning in with me. I got an interesting article here to go over for you folks this morning. The stream seems like it's working fine. We're going to have a quick show today and try and bring you folks some news in the world of Magic the Gathering. Harvey McGinnis. This article is from you. Harvey is a cool guy. If you didn't know it, check out his Twitter feed already. If you haven't gone over there and followed Harvey McGinnis, the friend of the channel who brings us so many amazing articles I love to read, one of the best writers in my opinion. I've read a lot of articles in my day, but Harvey always seems to strike the chord. Here on the show, we like what you're doing. Keep it up. You know, a good example of somebody who's taken one step towards the fire each and every day, and now we've got great article from Harvey here this morning. Shout out to you, Harvey. Good morning, and thanks for writing this article here because we've got some cards in it that I want to take a look at. Since our last edition of the Over and Under, we had a full release of both March of the Machines and its supplemental set, March of the Machine Aftermath, plus confirmation of the titular Temptation of the Ring mechanic for upcoming summer, Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set release, and finally some extra sneak peeks at Commander Mastered. It's been a lot to handle, and it's certainly generated some buzz as players come to grapple with the ever-shifting card pool, and even so, most of this has been limited to the supply of market noise without much staying power or significant effects. I say most because there has certainly been a diamond in the rough. But before we get into let's start things off with a recap. Leeches. Here's a card that is on the reserve list. It hit the bottom 10 of Brody's reserve list cards that no one cares about last year. And I hope you picked up a couple of copies. If you guys, like, we're in a bull market. No, we're in a bear market, but we're in anticipation of a bull market. And yesterday we talked about market cycles with modern cards and standard cards and how that works. What's the time period of a life cycle or a market cycle of a Magic card? Here's a card that was fairly low on the price list just last year. We picked up some copies. It hit the bottom 10, and if you haven't read the bottom, if you haven't viewed the bottom 10, make sure you check it out because sometimes there's diamonds in there that folks don't seem to give any, ain't gets no love from nobody on the bottom 10 of reserve list cards. When we last looked at leeches, this obscure reserve list speculation was hovering around the $18 range, while price eroding significantly after a recent spike target, largely attributed to the renewed presence of poison counters in Magic the Gathering zeitgeist. In the month since then, leeches has fallen back down to the $15 mark. While $3 in a month might not sound like a lot, little haircut off the top, it's representative of a near 15% weakening of the price, a trend which doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. While leeches will almost certainly stabilize higher than its pre-spike price due to it being a reserve list card with an increased demand, it hasn't found its stabilization level yet, just yet. Even if you really want a copy of this card, recommend holding off until the time being. Similar to overhyped standard cards right after a pre-release, the market is softening right now, and that demand has cratered. So a good article here. That's why I like reading the stuff that Harvey McGinnis puts out. Very well written and to the point, based on facts, logic, charts, and not a lot of speculation here. This man digs deep. Mystic Remora. Let's check it. Unlike leeches, our undervalued pick of last month hasn't had much of a price trend in either direction, which is to be expected given that it was reprinted in large quantities only several months ago. Mystic Remora continues to be a crucial piece of any commander deck that can run it, and now that the price is below $5, it has become readily accessible in its principal demand audience. Players, fans of the game who love playing this card in Commander can now get it at a cheaper price because of the reprint. It will likely be some time before Mystic Remora gets a tick back up, but the card has already reached its bottom and won't be any cheaper anytime soon. If you need a copy of Mystic Remora, I implore you to grab one while it's cheap as it is now. All right, now on to the picks for the month, starting off with our overvalued selection, ally-covered fetch lands. Harvey says these folks are overvalued. Here on the over-under for May 2023. So let's get into these allied fetch lands. And back in our March edition of the over-under, last month, Harvey was writing about the enemy-colored fetch lands and how that had reached an all-time low, being Scalding Tarn around $20, March Flats breaking $10, and players rejoicing at the opportunity to watch the morning show with Brody. Players rejoicing at the opportunity to pick up some multi-format staples for far cheaper prices than anything once before. In that article, Harvey was mentioning how, unlike the enemy fetch lands, all the allied fetch lands, especially the Khans of Tarkir printings and Polluted Delta, Flooded Strand, Bloodstained Mire, Wooded Foothills, Windswept Heath, had continued to drift upwards in price and were reaching an all-time high. Well, that trend has only continued since then, and it is now time for us to discuss the current valuation of ally fetch lands. A bit of a disclaimer regarding something mentioned briefly earlier. When we say ally fetch lands, we're going to be discussing the price of the Khans of Tarkir printings specifically, without getting into too much depth and the principal reason behind the supply. The original Onslaught printings are so far removed from their Khans of Tarkir cousins in terms of supply that evaluating the two together would be a mistake, along with the lines of lumping together revised edition and unlimited edition dual lands. These two sets and the fetch lands they contain are different beasts. Harvey is here to tame the beast with us this morning. We're going to be discussing allied fetch lands, specifically the ones from Khans. We're not going to touch the Onslaughts, and here's another trap. We talked about traps yesterday. If you're looking at selling Magic cards and you're waiting for the price of a particular card to hit a round number, say you're like, I'm holding on to this particular card until it hits $30 or $40 or an even number, that's another mistake. That's called a trap, because anybody who is watching the price go up will probably know that those pegged round numbers are some target pricing for folks. So usually when you're setting a sell target, don't pick a round number, for $34.88 rather than $35, or $28.90 rather than the $30, because these cards tend to rise up towards that target number. Other people who are looking to sell will be holding on to the last minute and dumping theirs, and you might not get to sell it. All right, let's get on to these allied fetch lands. Mass availability of the enemy fetch lands has had an inverse effect on the price of all their allied counterparts, as renewed excitement from players to invest in more developed mana bases, those necessary to play Modern, for example, has had the consequence of increasing demand for allied fetch lands as well. Think of a player trying to play Jeskai, red, white, blue, in Modern, for example, while all the affordable Scalding Tarns and Arid Maces cover 2/3 of the fetch lands required to build a deck. Missing allied colored fetch lands is now pushed upwards in price as it hasn't received its printing yet. Key word, yet. All right, good morning, Dual Brain. Thanks for tuning in. The big boys have arrived. Clear a seat, clear the room, grab a seat front and center. Right this way, sir. We're talking about allied fetch lands here this morning with Harvey McGinnis, another article here on the stock desk. Thank you for joining us. Fetch lands sell sets like hotcakes. Hotcakes! Khans of Tarkir, Modern Horizons 2, both these did incredibly well in no small part due to the cycle of lands they contained. Looking into the future, more specifically Commander Masters, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a reprint soon as Wizards of the Coast attempts to cash in on the reprint equity of fetch lands provide. There is certainly demand for a reprint, and the product stream for the remainder of 2023 offers plenty of opportunities. This is certainly speculative, but as we saw with the enemy fetch lands, prices will crater soon as a reprint is confirmed. I'd keep that in mind as I eye the market. Moving next to a recently released reprint, however, it is time for our undervalued picks of the month. All right, Ragavan the Nimble Pilferer. I'm so happy to see Harvey put this on the list. I am going to have a sip of coffee. And I hope you folks too. Good morning, everybody. Solar God, Benson and friends, Richie Dubs, Dual Brain. This stream is for you folks. We've got all kinds of variants of Ragavans out there. We've even got the $1,000 masterpieces out there. We've got the promos that are out there. We've seen people selling play sets of this newly printed card for upwards of $20,000 online. Now, I know it's the hotness in the metagame right now, especially in Modern. It's a 2-1 for 1. It's overpowered. But does that mean that it's overpriced? Harvey would come to think so, and a man like him tends to bring a good perspective to the game of Magic the Gathering. Let's hear what he has to say. On to the monkey business. On to the monkey in the room. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer has been on the bane of numerous formats since its release, racking up a ban in Legacy and a blistering high share of the Modern meta game. Along with that success, it also racked up quite a hefty price tag with the initial Modern Masters 2 base printing of the card hovering around $75 for the majority of its lifetime. That is, until it was reprinted in March of the Machine Multiverse Legends. This crests the price of Ragavan, with the newest printings currently selling for around $50. And boy, is it selling. The sales of the data on TCGplayer.com is a testament to this. The price may have fallen for Ragavan, but the demand has not yet ceased. Banana, banana, banana. Cards like this are continued give demand, and it's key to understanding why Ragavan looks to be quite the value pickup right now. Since it can be found in any booster pack of March of the Machine, it can be in draft, it can be in set boosters or collectors, and the supply of Ragavan is going to continue to saturate the market. This may seem a bit counterintuitive to making any valuable play, but the end result of this is going to be along the lines of the enemy fetch lands. As Ragavan inches slightly cheaper, the current price trend has it falling very incrementally and nearing its bottom, more and more players will have an entryway into playing with it, which will plant the seed for the card to spike back up in price once March of the Machine finalizes its print run. While buying Ragavan Nimble Pilferer today might not seem like the cheapest as it's ever been, it's very close. And in the long run, you'll certainly find that you wound up with a discount. Wrapping up, the market for staples right now is a bit of a turbulent one, but overall it's certainly trending in the favor of cheaper singles and border availability to players in the months to come. Ragavan's the cheapest it's ever been, despite the widespread popularity, and an upcoming master set serves as yet another opportunity for the reprint and corresponding price crash of all the ally fetch lands. Commander Alistair Mystic Commander All-Star Mystic Remora is at an all-time low. Check back next week when we look and see what's over and what's under. Thanks, Harvey McGinnis, a student from St. John Hopkins University who's been playing Magic since the release of Return to Ravnica, spending a few years in the Legacy area, bouncing around Miracles and other blue-white control shells. Now spends his time enjoying Magic through CEDH games, understanding the finance perspective, also writes for the Commander's Herald, and I happen to know Harvey likes stacks. Stacking the deck here this morning with some valuable picks. Harvey's given us a little bit of a compass and something to masticate on. Think about, chew on that, monkey. Ragavan the Nimble Pilfer. It's Tuesday. This is the way. How high can Ragavan go, or any new cards really, compared to old cards? It's bizarre. I can't agree with you more, Mr. Solar God. It's like they purposely printed a card that's way overpowered, that's gonna force people to play it in competitive play, especially in new sets, new formats, and all the tournaments that are happening, so they can continue to. How long can they keep reprinting the monkey while the price is high and people still want to get it? Interesting. As we draw nearer and nearer, your movers and the shakers here today. It's Tuesday, May the 16th, 2023. I want to thank you folks, amazing fans of Magic the Gathering, for joining me here again at the stock desk. I hope you're moving and you hear that beat. You're moving in your seat and tapping your toes. These are your movers and your shakers here on the morning show. Let's go. All right, what do we got for your palette here this morning? We're hitting the Pioneer list this morning, your movers and the shakers, daily change. We got to take a look and see what gives. Brody, I stepped away, but I told you I got the package. The package has landed? Nice. How does it fit? Try that on. You're going to want to be seen with those shirts. I'm telling you, big things coming down the pipe for anybody who's got themselves a patron spot on the channel. Give me 6 months, you get yourself the latest Brody shirt. After that, we're going to cut it off and those shirts won't be available anymore. Anyone who's got one, as a thank you, hold on to that sucker. You're going to want to be seen with it, because once we go into block rotation of the Brody shirts, yes, those shirts are going to rotate. The blue shirt's going to rotate out, and we're going to rotate the latest version of the Brody shirt. We're going to go through we're gonna have some new designs for you folks. Then those will be available to the patrons and to anybody who qualifies. You're gonna want to be seen with those Brody shirts. That's gonna get you into an amazing giveaway and a draw here on the channel. So hold on to those shirts, hold on to those hats while they're free. If you join the Patreon, you can get it for free after 6 months, and after that they're gone. The only way you're going to be able to get them is to buy them. So once that shirt rotates, we are going to be getting into some more Magic mayhem. Haven't opened yet. I'm not saying anything. Astrid Media, welcome to the show. These are your movers and the shakers for today, May 16th, 2023. We're checking out the Pioneer list. This one's for Robert O'Brien. Magma Opus. Let's check it out. This Is It card seeing a tick up of 64%, up to $9.80. This is a instant card. 8 mana. Expensive. Mana Banana. This card costs you a red, a blue, and 6. Magma Opus deals 4 damage divided as you choose or among any number of targets. Well, it should for this amount of mana. Tap 2 target permanents. Create a 4/4 blue red elemental creature token. Draw 2 cards. Then you can cycle this by discarding it with the cost of 2 manas, and you get a treasure token. I think this is a decent card for the turn stack. Maybe not. It's an instant. It's 8 mana. It can create a 4/4 win condition. You can also cycle it earlier in the game to get some mana. Put you ahead of turn. Actually, why haven't I considered this? It's $9, and Magma Opus is a mythic slot. Look at the chart on this sucker. It's taking a spike up in price. We're going to pull back the chart and see. So market cycles. We were talking about market cycles just yesterday. You know, the reserve list market moves and flows. Things go up and tends to take a long time to do that. But it seems a little more steady. Now that the standard rotation is at a 3-year rotation, we're going to see maybe a longer market cycle for some major standard staples. Nevertheless, the Pioneer metagame has put this card through 2 cycles since it was printed. I'm going to grab Brody's pen here because all we want to do is draw lines on charts. That's right. Lines on charts. So we got the dawning of this card launching at about $10, then taking an immediate spike down in price, leveling off with no appreciation for this card. Survivors are the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty block hit, and this card saw another tick up in price to around where it is at now. Trending down since New Capenna all the way down to the $1 to $2 marks. It's now seeing some activity, and I want to know why. What are the decks using it? I already thought that I could probably use it in a turns deck, but Creativity seems to be running it. Oh, Pioneer and Creativity. Let's just go over to MTG Top 8 just for a second because we got to do a little bit of research here for you folks in the chat here this morning. Let's search it up. Let's see if any top decks have made its way into the top 8. This is also a good way to confirm why this card is spiking. So here we go. Just on Saturday, on the weekend, the 13th of this month, Creativity by Okamoto Katsuki, Champions Cup Season 2 Round 1 store qualifier in Japan. 39 players sat down to play Magic the Gathering. And this deck, Creativity, piloted by Okamoto Katsuki, is running copies of this card. How many of it? Magma Opus, 4 copies, a full playset. 1, 2, hitting 5th place. So when a card like this does 5th place, it's gonna see some action. And there's an elephant. The elephant in the room, right? I can see an elephant here. Yeah, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So Magma Opus, perhaps another choice to build a top deck. If you haven't got it already, hold on to it. Or maybe this is what we're talking about, traps, right? If you're saying, see, is right now, if you're holding on to extra copies of this card and you're like, I'm going to sell it, it's spiking, right? So you want to sell into a spike and you definitely want to hold when things are low. This is, if you said, I'm going to wait till this thing hits $9 or $10 even, then sell, it might not ever get there. So the trap of waiting for round numbers when to sell cards, I want you guys to be aware of that. Take a couple pennies less than $10 if you can get it. I can't see this card going too much higher, but only time will tell if it puts up more stats. Good morning, Murray Cooper. Good morning, Robert O'Brien. These are your movers and the shakers for May 16th, 2023. We're on evacuation notice here, so we are doing the show today, but if we get chased out of here, Brody's not going to be doing the show until we are allowed back in. Smoke. Heavy smoke in the air here. What do we got? JVP. J-Svinge Prodigy. Second off the top on your movers and the shakers here today. 4% increase. $29 price tag for this Mythic from Magic Origins. This card's good, and I want to take a look at the chart on it. The Flippy Jace. This is the little Jacey boy, right? 1 blue and 1. You get yourself a 0/2 with his tap ability. Tap the Jays to draw a card, then discard, so he'll loot for you. And then if there's 5 more cards in your graveyard, exile Jace, and return to the battlefield transformed under your control, you get this Jace, Telepath Unbound, 5 Loyalty Planeswalker. Decent card. Jace taking a spike up in price, and now if anybody remembers this card, it was a $100 card. The ceiling on this card, perhaps never to be seen again. $100 right here, right? Hit $100. Market cycle for Jace. It looks like Jace has seen at least 2 market cycles. Maybe this was the 3rd one, coming from $20 all the way to $100, and then drifting down in price all the way up till Throne of Eldraino, your wallet. That's the first cycle for JVP. Then taking a tick up in price back to the $40 mark, all the way down to pennies. If you picked this card up just a couple of weeks ago, you're probably going to do all right. If you can find it at the vendor shop now for the old listing price, if anybody hasn't corrected their pricing yet, what does it show here? $8. Maybe you can pick up a copy right now. Decks playing it, Hasika God of the Tree, JVP in command. He's a commander himself. Why not? He's deadly commander. Definitely. I need to get back and figure out which cards get priority for evacuation. I can't take them all. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You got to take them all. Are you heading back home? Murray Cooper and I are neighbors. So we are in the same boat. Let me know. I'm only a text away. If something comes up, Murray, and you need a hand, we'll try and be there for one another. I like it. JVP, you can find it on TCG Player for $1, a lightly played copy. That seems like a pretty good deal if you folks want to get it. $1 for JBP. It's spiking and maybe entering another market cycle. Perhaps people know something we don't. Maybe this card's better in Commander than anybody anticipates. I know we're talking Pioneer here on the morning show today, but let's face it, Dimir Control plays it. Let's look at the Dimir Control deck. I like the card with the... Let's take a look. There was the... What was the Dimir guy that was in Arena? The Slitherblade? Dimir Rogues deck? This is Dimir Control. So we got Urtai Resurrected. 4 arms on this guy. 3/2 flash when he enters the battlefield. Choose a color. Choose one. Counter a spell. Activated abilities or triggered abilities. You can counter. Its controller then draws a card. Destroy another target creature or planeswalker. Its controller draws a card. He just going to blow you up right on Urtai. 3/2 body with flash that has destroy a thing. That's pretty good. Narset, the Parter of Veils. Cling to Dust. This is a 5th place deck going 7-0 in a Pioneer Challenge just on the 7th day of this very month. Good deck list here. Consider, Fatal Push, Censor, change the equation. Counter target spell with mana value 2 or less. Counter target red or green spell with mana cal 6 or less. Make disappear, negate, power word kill. Power word kill. Destroy a non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, non-dragon. Children's Edict, Sinister Sabotage. Another good card from Ravnica block. Extinction Event. Memory. This card is hilarious. Choosing odd or even. I guess what we're choosing is what? It doesn't matter. We got to probably even. Only one creature in this whole deck. So what's our Shark Typhoon? That's the win condition. We're sharking them. This is, watch out for sharks out there. Gamespin's Prodigy, second off the top, giving us Psych Rift, a 3% increase from the original Return to Ravnica block. This one's a card that's going to get printed over and over again for Commander. It's a board upheaval spell. If you overload it for 7 mana, it returns everything to your opponent's hands except for yours. And this card can definitely change the state of games. It's been reprinted more times than A Dog's Got Fleas, but it seems to hold around the $39 mark. Psych Rift, a card that a lot of people hate playing against. It makes, in Commander, it makes for an interesting board state if you can wheel. It's steadily turning up. Look at the chart on this sucker. Even despite all the reprints, it was as low as $5 to $6 or $7, getting as high as $40 in the ceiling in Ikoria, and now it's just slowly. See, a card like this hasn't even been through a full cycle. There's nothing been happening to make it take a severe haircut. When are we going to get the 50% haircut on Psych Rift? Perhaps after Wizards prints it again. Who knows? It could take some time. I wouldn't be buying into this card. I'd probably look at holding at least one copy, maybe selling it for around the $40 mark, building a buy list, waiting for this bear market to end, and then pick up some stuff, some revised dual lands or some reserve list staples, or maybe you've got your eye on some cards that you can get at a discount while the market's low, or we see some sales closer to November. Psych Rift has been on the short list for an EDH ban hammer forever. Good point. If it's, I would say don't hold on to too many copies of Psych Rift. If it ever gets a banning, people are going to be whining and banning the Psych Rift. Cavalier of Dawn. This is the White Cavalier. This is up 5% in the Pioneer build. We were looking at a Shining Shoal yesterday. A good card. Now let's take Shining Shoal. I love this card because the art on it looks like a bunch of fish wrapping up somebody in toilet paper. It looks like a frat house prank happening in real time here. So we're toilet papering this guy here. Let's read this Shining Shoal. It's a card that we talked about yesterday. It's got an alternative mana cost, 2 white and X, but you may exile a white card with CMC X from your hand rather than playing its mana cost. So you pay the 2 white and then exile a big white card for the X. The next X damage that a source of your choice is dealt. you or creatures you control. This turn is you and or creatures you control is dealt instead to any target. So like an earthquake effect, damage spell that does X damage to all creatures. It says it's plural, and or creatures you control. So if you deal like an earthquake spell that deals damage to each creature, perhaps the Shoal discarding Cavalier can redirect some of that. When Cavalier of Dawn enters the battlefield, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 Golem creature token. And when Cavalier of Dawn dies, return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. This Mythic from M20 is $17.46. And look at the chart on this one. Seeing a cycle here. First market cycle for this one, and it's taken a long time. 3 to 4 years. Sort of going from the $4 to $5 mark all the way just recently. This card is seeing a tick up in price around the $15 mark to where it is now. Decks using it? What are we using it for? Sidbar Jabiri of Zalfir. 4-color Fires of Inventions. Interesting card. Is it this deck that's putting it in the headlines like a corduroy pillow, making headlines? Brody Alfonso is bringing you some Magic stocks. Let's take a search. Let's look at top 8. Let's see why this card is so popular. Cavalier of Dawn. Let's see if it's any of the big decks. Fires of Invention in Explorer on the 12th, just on Friday, a major event. So Explorer is pushing this card, Pioneer as well. On the 6th of this month, so a couple of decks actually using it. The Fires of Invention deck primarily, yes. Enigmatic Fires. So it's the Fires deck that's running this Cavalier of Dawn, pushing it into serious contention. Pioneer, this one here. One Cavalier of Dawn. Karuga, the Macro Sage. Karuga? Dinosaur Hippo. Hippopotamania. Joining the Hippopotamania here this morning is Karuga, the Macro Sage, Bone Crusher Giant, Clever Imposter, Heliod, the Radiant of Dawn, Cavalier of Dawn, and the Elishnorn Mama of Machines. Kenrith, Return King, Tolsmir, the Friend of Wolves, Agent of Treachery, ugh, can't stand that card. And Attracts to the Grand Unifier, Titan of Industry. Moving, that is a top tier deck playing the Cavalier of Dawn. If you got copies of it, maybe it's the time to unload this before something gets any better. It's seen a price spike and it seems pretty stable around the $20 bill mark. Another night. Good point, Benson. I like it. Very good comment. Yesterday, we were discussing foil pickups, cheap pickups on the show, and my friend Benson and I were having a little chatter on the comments afterwards. We're talking about Morning Tide foils, Shadowmoor foils, Laurwin foils, and what's the other one? The one that I forgot to mention on the show yesterday, and it eludes me today. What is it, Benson? Looking into the dumpster to try and find some golden nuggets, where you can pick up some rares in those sets right now for just a couple of dollars. Might be a place to be looking right now while the market is in retreat. Gisha's Son's Avatar. This is going to be a popular card. I've got one of them in the buy list, and I cannot hardly bring myself to put it on the buy list. It's $32.97. It's a card from Ixalan. Now, if you remember, Ixalan was back when boosters were boosters. There was only one type of booster box in Ixalan, and I remember buying Ixalan booster boxes for around the $85 legacy price point. What we used to pay for Magic the Gathering before all the variants and collector boosters and set boosters and the super boosters and booster boosters. Gisha seems to be an all-star from Ixalan block that has now come to fruition and seen a little bit of popularity, especially in dinosaur builds and in the Commander Shell. I don't know what it's doing here in Pioneer. I don't think we're going to see any Pioneer decks building it, but definitely in Commander, this 7/6 dinosaur costs you 8 mana, a red, green, white, and 5. Got Vigilance, Trample, Haste, so it can attack the turn it comes into play. So this card's darn good. It can actually do something situationally if you can get through with it. When it deals damage to a player via combat, you get to reveal that many cards from the top of your library and put any number of dinosaur creature cards from among them onto the battlefield, and then the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. If Gisha sees a reprint when we go back to Ixalan. This card may just stay where it's at or take a bit of a haircut, 20 to 30%, maybe even a 50% haircut if they reprint it. If not, it's going to keep going. That's why I'm reluctant to buy list this card right now. Because if they miss it and they don't reprint it in the return to Ixalan, we're going to definitely see some more demand for this old Ixalan printing, finding its way into the movers and the shakers here this morning. A market cycle for Gishath looks just like this. If it gets a reprinting, we're going to complete the market cycle and probably see a bit of a haircut. This card continues to move up in price from just a month ago. You see, time in the market is better than timing the market. And even around the Brothers War, right around here, Brody was discussing, I've had my buy list box put together, including a copy of Gishath's son's avatar. I just have not gone ahead and pulled the trigger and sent it in because I know there's a few cards in there that may, like this one, that are expensive and could probably see a little bit of a tick up in price. So let's continue down the movers and the shakers list here this morning. I just want to see, what are we running it in? Nothing in Pioneer, just as we expected. Gishath straight to Commander. This is a hold. This is a hold, and if you like playing chicken, you'll hold on to it just until the Ixalan set comes out or before it. If it's spoiled, it's probably going to take a haircut, but it'll probably pop back up. Good morning, Twiddler. Thanks for joining. Nice to have you in the stream today. We're discussing your Leeches card on the over-under this morning. A great card from the reserve list. Golos, the Tireless Pilgrim. Seeing some love here today. $5. Up 16%. Golos is actually seeing some love here. Man, this is a card that I bought into and it didn't go well. I wanted to try and play this in Commander, but then she got Bander. Bander in Commander. The Golos card is still good in Vintage. Yes, it is. People are playing it there. But this card got banned in Commander so fast, faster than a bullet on speed. This card was banned right shortly after it was printed because it's 5 colors. It's got game-winning mechanics written all over it. Let's read the card for 5 mana. You get this 3/5. 3/5 artifact creature construct scout. Scouting the movers and the shakers list with you this morning. Golos Tireless Pilgrim enters the battlefield. You get to search your library for a land, put it onto the battlefield tapped. That's any land. It doesn't have to be a basic. It could be a Dark Depths. It could be a Maze of Ith. It could be a dual land. It could be any kind of land that you just want to have in your hand and put it right on the battlefield. For a Wooburg 2, you exile the top 3 cards of your library. You get to play them this turn without paying their mana cost. So if you can trick this thing, if you can proc it, you get to exile the top 3. And with a way to look at the top cards of your library, maybe a brainstorm and reorder your library, this card gets really, really good. Legal and Vintage. It's seen a couple of market cycles. Let's pull back the chart on Golos here, and we can just definitely confirm that here. Golos, let's go back here. Let's take a look. Just like a lot of cards. Let's go back here. Golos was printed. It was $2. Then it took a $6 pump. This would be the first market cycle for Golos. Taking a 50% haircut right off the top, right around here. Okay, so Golos come out at around the $2 to $3 mark, then up to $6. 50% haircut after the excitement was all over. Then it moved east to west for a period of time, to the right and down just a little bit. Now we're seeing second market cycle all the way for Golos into Strixhaven. That's from the $4 to $5 mark till Ikoria, and then a tick up all the way to $10. Then a banning. This card, perhaps right around this period of time here, poor Golos went and got himself in a lot of trouble. Banned. I'm not sure exactly what the banning date on it, but it would stand to reason that it's probably right around here, and he's never quite fully recovered. Third market cycle, if you bought into Golos at the high prices, I would feel kind of bad because it's it's definitely taken a 70% haircut since banning. It's back now with a little bit of love. I don't know how far and what decks are pushing it. Vintage, prison shops, definitely played in Vintage. So people are playing this in Vintage, perhaps with the Bolas Citadel, to play off the top of their library. It's definitely the best format for manipulating the top card of your library using Brainstorm or any of the cards that allow you to put one back. Eldrazi Tron's playing it. Why not? And Greentron playing it in Modern. Good card to cast if you've got lots of mana, especially in Tron, right? Couple of Tron lands, boom. 3 Tron lands and you're into Golos mana right away. We're going to be able to... What are we making this extra mana with? Just kind of interested. You got the Chromatic Star that allows you to make that extra mana. You've got the Chromatic Sphere that allows you to make the extra mana. And that's just about it. Bunch of dual lands. Cascading Cataracts. 5 and tap it. Add 5 mana of any combination of colors to your mana pool. So there it is right there. The Cascading Cataracts in Tron, you tap a tower and a power plant, and then boom, you get your 5. Then you get to tap this Cascading Cataracts, add 5 mana in any combination. That's your Wooburg that you need to proc the Golos to take the top card off your library. Most likely it's going to be an Eldrazi or something big and game winning, and it's going to end the game. Emrakul, the Promised End. Woo-wee, some big bad boys here on the Pioneer list this morning, seeing a 1% tick up in price. $47 for Emrakul. This is the one that Mindslavers, your opponent, yeah, for 13. Another staple in Eldrazi Tron. What are you going to ramp up to this and just end the game? If you get to 13 mana, you cast this sucker. Flying Trample, protection from instants. It's got Flample and Pro stats. I like it. Costs 1 less for each card type among cards in your graveyard, so you can get a little bit cheaper when you hit your Chromatic Stars and your Chromatic Orbs. When you sack those little mana artifacts and put them in the bin, it makes it cost a little less. When you cast this spell, you gain control of target opponent during that player's next turn. After that, that player takes an extra turn. Let's face it, if you make some bad decisions, Emrakul, the king, Promised End, the king of bad decisions, it's like, you know, after midnight on a Saturday night, there's nothing good that comes. That's when Emrakul, the Promised End, sort of takes hold. Let's look at this market cycle for Emrakul. $20 to $30 when it was first printed in the Eldritch Moon set. That's right. So right now is this card mooning all the way up to the $80 mark once upon a time, right before the Brothers War hit. Now, why such a big haircut on Emrakul, a 50% pullback? If this doesn't get a reprint, this card is probably a good pickup, actually. If you haven't had one, this card, if it doesn't get a reprint, it's probably going to take maybe another 5% off the top. And this card's going to come down in price and probably pick up some steam here. Quite interesting, if you see what I mean. Decks using it. Animar, the Soul of Elements. Kozilek, the Great Distortion. We've got Krufix, God of Horizons. Dijeru and Hazaret playing it. 4-color Omnath. Heliod, the Radiant Dawn. Joda, Archmage Elemental. And Atali, the new Atali, is playing it in Modern. Nothing here in Pioneer. Despite being a Pioneer card and being a card that's legal in Pioneer, you can play it in Pioneer. And the Triomes. Ikoria Triomes. Oh, man. Brody was asleep at the wheel. I should have picked up all these Triomes when they were cheap. These things are going to see a long, drawn-out market cycle until they get some more reprinting. Starting off at the $10 to $15 mark, then taking an immediate 50% haircut right here. And it's been steady ever since, all the way up to Strixhaven, regaining some of that haircut, growing back some of that haircut. And then New Capenna is where it brings itself back to the release prices. And now it's starting to gain a little strength. These Triomes are probably going to just be steady until they see a reprinting. This cycle has taken about 3 years to complete from start to finish. This is be the second market cycle. Usually when you see something that's hot get spoiled and the prices on pre-release, when you see the speculative prices on cards before they actually get released, I don't tend to pre-order unless it's something really amazing, because you get stuck in a situation like this. So if you want to make some money and a new set is coming out and you've got the hotness, wait for that 50% haircut right after release. If the card doesn't take off and do what people think it is, then you can usually pick it up on a discount. And if it's got any long-term staying power, you're going to end up where you are with the Triomes now. Brody was going to buy singles, should have bought singles right about here. These things are strong, and now I'm just sitting on the sidelines watching these go up. I might have to catch them on a reprint or try and open them. Decks using them. Niv to Light. Oh, this is a shout out to T Freezy, another fellow that I know is playing the Niv to Light deck. A decent deck. The Triomes fix your mana quite nicely with the Niv Mizzet Reborn. The 6/6 that enters the battlefield and reveals the top 10 cards of your library, and for each colored pair, you get to choose a card that's exactly those colors and put it into your hand, then the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This card's decent. And then the Niv Mizzet Supreme, the new one, the Supremes. First place, Pioneer Challenge, just on the weekend. Hello. This is why the Triomes are spiking. This was the first place deck, Niv to Light. First place Pioneer 7-0. Not even a loss to speak about. So that's where the money is right now in Pioneer on the top decks. The Triomes, Niv to Light, Anointed Procession. In fact, here's another card from Amonkhet that is still heading north of $42. This card is reprinted on the list and even available in an event pre-release promo. The pre-release promo, holy smokes, $60. I kind of feel bad getting rid of this card. It seems to go up in price. I could have said it earlier that this is just like another doubling season. Definitely taking a boost all the way from the $5 to $6 mark when it was printed originally in the Amonkhet block. Now it seems like this card is getting a lot of love and attention until it sees a reprint. Is it made its way onto the list? Let's just check that here. Yes, the list copy is even $40. Decks using it, all commander decks. If you want to double your procs, double your tokens, double your procession, this card is going to do it for you. And Door of Destiny is this 4 mana. This is an anthem. Now, like MTG Gaming Bob, and we were speaking about cards like Vanquisher's Banner, Door of Destiny. This card's good in Commander. Let's take a look at it here. This card's 4 mana, and it's from M14. It's quite an old card. This is almost 10 years. Morningtide Foil, $46. So those are more of those Morningtide Foils. Tatantaman, good morning. Michael Superbacker, thanks for joining me here today. Keep the chats coming. I like this Door of Destiny. It's a decent card with lots of uses, especially in Commander. Anything tribal, it's definitely a decent card. $15 for this $9 to $10 10-year-old card, Magic 2014, again printed in 2017, and it hasn't seen a reprinting in about 8 years. Pull back the chart on this. This card seems pretty stable. Wow. All the way up to $16 in Strixhaven, and now it seems to be trending down just in price, topping out right around here around Strixhaven, and now it's going east and west. These are your movers and the shakers for May 16th, 2023. I want to thank you folks for joining me here on the morning show. I got another article for you folks to read. We got the over and under our belt here this morning. Thanks to Harvey McGinnis for bringing us something pretty awesome. All right, one more article for you folks. We are loving it. This one. MTG newest set is way more powerful than expected. Let's talk about it. The newest set. All right, March of the Machine Aftermath is out everywhere, but players aren't sure what to make of it. It's obvious to many that this set financially represents some rather questionable flavor and value, but the card set in the set that offer are good enough to impact powerful modern archetypes. This means that regardless of the financial standings of the product, which does not appear too great, the cards being offered can seriously impact Commander. Maybe you want to buy some singles, competitive MTG, and let's look at what's made some impacts over the weekend of March of the Machine's Aftermath. The Nissa Resurgent Animus. As we said, the Planeswalkers have lost their spark and are coming back as legendary creatures. This one, for those of you who are unaware, Nissa has lost her spark thanks to the events of March of the Machine. She successfully reversed her completion But she did lose her spark as a consequence. Interestingly enough, though, Nissa lost her spark. This may not be one of the most powerful iterations of her character in the game has ever seen. Some thought it was overhyping Nissa, Resurgent Animus, when we pointed her out that the potential for modern competition in the 4-color Elementals archetype. So this is the one that says landfall whenever land enters the battlefield under your control at a mana of any color. Then if it's a second time this is resolved this turn, you can reveal cards from the top of your library until you hit an elf or an elemental card and put that into your hand and the rest on the bottom of the library. Seeming pretty powerful if it can trigger elementals, especially with Omnath and 4-color elementals, and after just one weekend of the set being legal for play, Nissa Resurgent Animus has topped the modern challenge in that very archetype. 3 mana for a 2/2 is a bit overpriced, but alongside the fetch lands, Nissa is capable of functioning as both an overpriced Lotus Cobra and a value engine. When you trigger Nissa's landfall ability for the second time, you get to reveal cards at the top of your library until you find an elf or elemental. We're unsure whether Nissa's finding copies of herself would end up becoming a risk, so we recommend 1 to 2 to start with, but it looks like Nissa is good enough to find copies of herself since we've seen 3 copies of Nissa in the deck's first successful iteration. Here's the deck list, including Omnath, Locus of Creation, the 4-color Omnath still being the better one. It's kind of sad that the 5-color Omnath isn't much better than the first one. Your people are still playing the 4-color version because it's just better. Strictly better. The 4-color Elemental is traditionally a slower control strategy that wants to win by keeping your opponent and slowly outvaluing them. Nissa is fantastic in this shell since it can both accelerate the deck to its late game plays and provide a threat each time you play a fetch land. Ren and 6 can help recur them, creating an insane value machine. MTG streamers are playing it, and it seems pretty good. Reckless Handling. 1 red and 1. Sorcery, search your library for an artifact, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle, then discard a card at random. If it's the artifact card that was discarded this way, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. It's like a gamble. How good is this card? Well, it looked like a card that was some commander promise, offering a mediocre gamble impression that can only find artifacts. Handling has definitely found a home in the tutor-obsessed base commander format. In the right deck, it turns out that there's a niche deck that wants this card in Modern. Honestly, anyone who wants to play both it in Modern and Legacy, this may be an obvious card that's expected. Using it with Reckless Handling. We've got Goblin Charbelcher. The Charbelcher. Then we can go get the Belcher. Right? Bob49 topped, morning MTG Gaming Bob, topped a Modern challenge with Charbelcher in a traditional Modern strategy that also appeared in Historic. Thanks to its reprinting in Brothers War, this is an all-combo deck that uses Charbelcher as a 1-card win condition. Basically, all the lands in your deck are MDFC cards from Zendikar Rising, Charbelcher, and activating it will see your entire deck and deal damage equal to the cards left in your library. This is generally enough to win the game on the spot. For reference, since the release of Zendikar Rising, Belcher has always been a fringe Modern deck at worst. I've also played against it in Legacy. It's considered to be a serious meta contender at the moment, and Reckless Handling may change this, since it essentially gives the deck 2 extra copies of the win condition. This is incredible upside for the archetype, since you ensure that you cannot execute your game plan. You may be unable to keep the hands that you directly want to root a Charbelcher in some way, shape, or form. Let's just take a look at the Goblin Charbelcher price chart. Goblin Charbelcher. How much is that one? Let's go to the Eternal Master. 77 cents. A card that doesn't command a lot. Eternal Master's foil being the most expensive. The Goblin with the bucket hat, definitely a card that is making some moves. And then Gamble. Belcher decks in Legacy already run Gamble, which is a better version of Reckless Handling that's not legal in Modern. Therefore, anyone who's aware of the fact may have identified Reckless Handling as an obvious upgrade to the Modern archetype. That said, Belcher is not a very powerful strategy in Legacy thanks to the prevalence of Force of Will, but either way, it's always promising to see another unorthodox archetype make powerful runs in any format. If you want, I love that strategy, coming up with an archetype that is unexpected and just winning some games. If you want to read more about Reckless Handling and Nissa, there's another article on it as it looks pretty good. Invasion of Ikoria. This is the battle card with the big 8/8 dinosaur on the backside. It's not a March of the Machine Aftermath card, but the innovation here is so cool that it had to be mentioned. Magic Player Online X-File utilized this combo that everybody noted when Invasion of Ikoria was first spoiled. And for 4 mana, the card can search for Vampire Hexmage, known for its utility in Turbo Depths, which can essentially sacrifice itself to remove all the battle defense's counters. This will cause the battle to trigger using the Hex Mage shell, just like what they used to flip the Dark Depths. We're using it to take the counters off the battle and exile itself, allow the owner to create a recast Zilortha, the Apex of Ikoria, for free. A 4-mana 8/8 is indeed a creature that's a great rate, but surprisingly that may not actually be very good in Modern. X-File made it work by using Invasion of Ikoria as flexible as possible. The card can search up to 3 different haymakers in the forms of Tarmogoyf, Hexmage, Death Shadow. In other words, it's a Sultai's Death Shadow mid-range deck, and Invasion of Ikoria can in this way function as a way for Death Shadow to assign damage through blockers. This plays a similar role in what the Team of Battle Rage does in traditional Grixis lists, and also because the battle cards are completely a new archetype and design, Delirium from Traverse the Elvenwild makes it easier to activate. Tarmogoyf also gains an additional 1 counter because of the new card type, and finally, Invasion of Ikoria can search for the Grist, the Hunger Tide, since it's the weird text of being a 1/1 insect creature when it's not in play. Another bizarre target for the form of Dryad Arbor, making the Invasion a bizarre ramp tool for 2 mana. Death Shadow strategies have been in the decline, as well as a fair assorted Jund strategies that want to utilize threats like Tarmogoyf, so it's a bit tough to know whether this deck is a real contender for a larger Modern metagame. Strategies like this definitely have a nostalgic feel to them, even if the twist is entirely a new card. Expect more experimentation from this card in the future, and we're going to recommend you folks checking it out. Sorry I'm late. I'm in the office again. It gets the way soon, and I'll need to be back in the office 3 days a week. That's okay, Bob. We miss you. We love you. We love to see you hanging out on the stream with the folks, the fans, the amazing fans of Magic the Gathering who love this game as much as we do. Thanks again for tuning in. This is the Bro Show. Hit me up. Let's get some comments going here. Take care, everyone. It's Tuesday. No worries. The cops are at the door. Could be the Pinkertons knocking down Brody's door, trying to get inside, but we're not going to let them. We're just going to keep it locked. How about that? I want to thank you folks for joining here this morning on the show. I can't seem to get the chat going. There it is. There's the Gaming Bob, my best buddy. Thanks for joining here. Late, but never too late for a little bit of Morning Magic the Gathering stocks and some Morning the Magic the Gathering talks. Thanks for each and every one of you amazing 312 subscribers who love the game as much as we do. Thanks again for tuning in. Walk towards the fire. If you've got goals in mind, if you want to get a little bit more out of life, dream it, you can become it. Just take one step each and every day towards your goal. Whether it's being Magic the Gathering YouTuber, maybe you want to make some comedy online like Richie Dubs. You want to make some shorts. But here's the thing. We do the long form show. The show is, I'm trying to gain people's attention span back, right? So everything on YouTube and on TikTok is concentrating on shorts and shortening your folks' attention span. So I want to thank each and every one of you who are working at building your attention span to be larger, because that's what you need to do here in the world. The world is trying to shorten everybody's attention span so that they don't pay attention and they can change their mind very easily with just a quick 10-second short. So what we're trying to do is create a longer attention span for folks who love tuning in on the channel and have something to say so that we can process more information in a new and amazing way. Stay safe out there. This is Brody Alfonso. This is your Morning Magic the Gathering stocks and talks, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.